Hello everyone, so I'm not sure who is fronting. It's a mix of whatever. I'm going to put it on the screen. But today I'm going to be making a video of how to help with imposter syndrome when you have dissociative identity disorder or other specified dissociative disorder. Don't mind the setup, this place, just the rest of our room is very dirty. So you're just going to have to, it's not that bad of a spot, right? Can't even see the beautiful ambiance, but whatever. So I'm going to be splitting up this video into different parts. First things first, we're going to start off with reassurance. So before we go into any of these things, I'm going to give reassurance, and I'm also going to explain what imposter syndrome is. So before I explain it in my own words, this is the actual definition. Imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern where individuals feel like frauds despite evidence of their competence and achievements. So basically meaning that it does not matter what's going on, you genuinely feel like you're faking. So this can look like even being diagnosed, and we've been through the same thing. First things first, you are valid. It doesn't matter if you're a fictive heavy system. It does not matter if you're a factive heavy system. It does not matter how much you split off parts. If you've done so much research and all of the symptoms that you have add up, or if you've been diagnosed by a professional, I promise you, you're not faking. You are not faking, okay? I cannot stress this enough. But obviously, this is easier said than done. So this video is going to be kind of an agenda of what you can do if you are struggling with this right now. Now, I don't expect you to subscribe. I don't expect you to like, but I do expect you to save this video if it helps you, okay? But you can subscribe if you want. Okay, I kind of changed the angle a little bit. So tell me what you guys think. Anyways, let's go. Number 2, besides the reassurance part, next is validating your symptoms. That could be another way of reassurance, but this is what I mean by this. So for example, one of the most common symptoms of having DID or OSDD is dissociation. So with our kind of brain, we dissociate, right? But for us, we dissociate into a different part, different alternates of consciousness. And that's just kind of how it works. That doesn't mean you can't be dissociated without switching, but that is the biggest symptom ever. If you have that symptom, validate it. Another symptom, dissociative amnesia, not remembering things, looking back on your phone, not understanding why you put this on, losing big blocks of time and being like, I did not send this text. Validate that. Let's say that you're looking in the mirror and you're like, something's not right. I don't feel like this is me. Validate that. So a very common thing is when the host, or parts that are out the most, figure out their system, because in the most, common cases, the host obviously is someone who's not supposed to know anything. So when they find out, it's almost like, no way, Jose. So that's when the imposter syndrome starts, which is technically just denial of who you are. A lot of hosts look the most like the body. This is very common, but that doesn't mean that this is the only thing that happens. A lot of times they'll be like,
no way, this can't be true. I never knew.
And I hate to break it to you, because you weren't supposed to know, and that's okay. That doesn't make you less educational, doesn't make you any less of anything, but validate those symptoms. Now, this is easier said than done, so let me actually tell you how to validate it. First things first, ask yourself, when is the last time I had this symptom? How often occurring is it happening? Because when you ask this and you put it in your face and you're like, okay, this is what happened, these symptoms are constantly happening, fine. This is way easier said than done, like I said, but in these moments, really think and look back and be like, okay, this is what happened. This is what my peers are telling me that's happening around me, because who knows, you could be rapid switching and people is like, hey, this is happening. You kind of have to validate these things in order to come to a realization, and in order to trust yourself and trust your professionals that you're working with, your professional mental health team, or just you in general. But like I said, just because you are a host, or just because you're a certain part that had no idea that this was happening, that does not make you less educational. It can be scary, because you're like, what do you mean? This whole time I thought it was just me. These were just voices in my head. I promise you, you're valid. It's a crazy realization, but I want you to know that it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get there. Next tip. This is the most important. Do your research. It doesn't matter if you're diagnosed or not diagnosed. If you're just now getting diagnosed, do research anyway. I'm telling you, it'll help you a whole lot, because when you have a therapist, when you have a psychiatrist or a psychologist, they can tell you what you have. But if you start looking in communities and really getting to know other people like this, I don't mean like you don't have to talk to them, because it's a crazy world. It's a crazy world, I will say. Now, if you aren't diagnosed, do tons of research. I'm telling you. And please don't just go on Google. Please don't just go on Wikipedia. Please go on places that are trustworthy and that are good sources, so it can truly, truly help you. Because if you're looking at all this research and you're doing all this research and you're like, I don't think I'm a system, and it all resonates with you, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Is this the right way to hold someone's hand? But you know, jokes aside, just do research. I'm telling you, it will save you a ton. It will save you a ton. And if you want, you can even ask your psychiatrist, therapist, psychologist, anyone in your mental health team that has diagnosed you, and ask them for some sources. Honestly, if you ask for some of the sources, they will give you some good ones. They will. I'm telling you right now. So don't be afraid to ask. Be like, hey, do you have any resources that I can look at? And if they don't give you a resource, fired. Get a new psychologist, therapist, psychiatrist. Because I'll be seeing some of y'all's posts and hearing different stories, and I'm like, why is your support team like this? This is not support. So if they're not being supportive, leave. I'm not playing with you. You better leave. I'm not playing. You better leave. But like I said, doing research is just super duper important, and it is what's going to get you somewhere within your healing journey. Next tip is listen to professionals. So this is for those who are diagnosed or medically recognized. If you're getting diagnosed, 9 times out of 10, it is your diagnosis. When you're getting diagnosed with these things, this is what happened to us. We were like, they're wrong. They're wrong. This isn't true. This is not what this is. If a professional, someone has the degree, master's degree, whatever, listen to them. Please, please listen to them. Because not only will that diagnosis reality check you, but what they'll have to say. Because you could be like, I don't think it's true. And say, well,
Why don't you think that?
and then you'll explain, and they'll be like,
did you forget our last 17 sessions?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But seriously, seriously, seriously listen to the professionals. Trust me. They are correct. They are the good source. I'm telling you. They are 9 times out of 10 right. But there are some times where people get diagnosed falsely. 100%. But it depends on the circumstance. But 9 times out of 10, they're right. Next one is try internal communication and block out fear. Internal communication is a little bit different than external. Internal is being able to hear certain parts or be able to go into certain parts within your inner world. Some people do not have inner worlds. That's perfectly fine, and there's ways that you can build it, but it's very different. But internal communication is hearing them, speaking with them the best you can. Now, every single system is different. Every single altar is different. So for some people, they cannot, or some altars, they cannot communicate with each other. It's super duper hard. Or they can, but not that well. And there can be people who can communicate really, really well or hear them well. And then there are people who can, but they block it out immediately because they're scared. They're like, no way, Jose. They're like, hello?
Hey, boo, how are you?
Oh, no, bye. Now, communication internally can be done by so many different ways. You can do it in EMDR, you can do it in therapy, you can do it in many other places, but there's also some videos on YouTube that you guys can look at. But internal communication can be very, very hard. It can be. So you can also do external communication, which is it's the favorite for a lot. But to block out fear, that is going to take time. And that's not just going to happen out in broad daylight. Be like, you know what? I'm not scared anymore. It takes time. You can do a lot of meditations. There's many, many things that you can do. Next tip, my personal favorite. Make a system journal or have system alter logging apps or things you can use. So as you guys know, Octocon and Simply Plural are being taken down in July or June, I think. But there's a new one called Plural Space. Girl, it's so good. Immediately. But for us, we have a lot of system journals. You can put rules, you can do anything, but it is very, very important when you do it. It really, really helps. And what also helps, if you're someone who has a lot of dissociative amnesia, set an alarm and put, if you can, when you set an alarm or a reminder, put what it is. Check journal, check system journal, whatever it is, because that will help you so much, not only communicate with them, but for you to be like, okay, maybe I do have multiple parts. But not only does this help with imposter syndrome, but it helps with communication. There's many things you can do with system journals. I think we might make a video about that. It's just such a fun idea. But system journals are so important. But if you don't have a journal or anything like that, you can do system logging apps, or you can just do simple paper and pen, just any kind of journal or any kind of reminder for you to be able to communicate, because communication is really, really important when we're in denial, and it's really important in general. I'm telling you, we have a system journal. Also, if you hear creaking noises, it's my freaking bed. You hear that? Oh my god. But system journals are just they're so effective. But there are some people, some systems who just can't do it, and it's just hard, and that's perfectly fine. So you can use apps, you can use notepads, anything, but having some kind of journal or a way to communicate with certain parts whenever dissociative amnesia barriers are high or you just can't. Sometimes we just straight up cannot, or we'll try to communicate and it's just blurry and it's just fuzzy and it's like, hello, what'd you say? Yeah, so try that and see if it helps you guys. My last tip is Pinpoint. Now you're probably wondering, what does that mean? Pinpoint is pinpoint within you. What do you think you're faking? Why do you think you're faking? Because there's always going to be something within that's like, I'm faking because of this, I'm faking because of this. Think about it. Let's say you think you're faking because you have so many fictives and people around you saying that's not possible and they're not professionals. Pinpoint that, because sometimes when you pinpoint it, I feel ashamed, I feel embarrassed because people are telling me that this is not what it is, even though they're not professionals. This also goes with validating, but it's not necessarily validating symptoms. It's trying to pinpoint and validate why and where do you think you're faking. Another one that can be the most common assumption people can have is, my trauma isn't bad enough. Honey, if you have fragmented parts within your brain, it was enough. A lot of people think that you have to be kidnapped, you have to be in some crazy fire or anything like this to develop these parts, when no, there's so many different ways of abuse, and it all has to depend on your brain, how young you are, and what kind of abuse it is. If you are young and you're before the age of 5 or 8 and you're getting repeatedly and repetitively abused or anything like that, it is enough. One of the assumptions we have when we're in denial is, I don't think it's real, I think it's just schizophrenia. And what we have to remind ourselves is that we have schizophrenia, we have psychosis, but it doesn't matter what medication we're on, our parts are still here and they still friend frequently. Anyways, my phone is running out of storage, but goodbye everyone. I really hope this helped you. Remember, you're valid. Stay stinky. Bye. Remember, you're valid. Bye.